Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Am race. The first race of Coppa Shell Am for our 2024 season. And what a season we have in prospect for you. We launch it here in Italy at the Mugello circuit. 5.245 kilometers, 14 turns. 6 of them left, 8 of them are right-handers. It's a delight to be back here. Of course, we were here in October for the Finale Mondiale towards the end of last year, and we had a great time, and we're having a great time launching the 2024 season as well. You can see some inspections going on around the track at the moment, just ascertaining following an incident in the earlier race. The safety team making sure the track is absolutely spot on before we can get racing underway. So the team down there taking a look at that, and discussions are going on. It is going to be the Trofeo Pirelli Am race that we will be taking to track. Some 18 cars that will be out there. Track temperature is 30 degrees, 30. Air temperature is 19 degrees, humidity 57%, and barely any wind to talk of as we look at the exit of the start-finish straight into turn number 1, this sweeping but uphill turn. And then you head up to the first chicane, which becomes turns 2 and 3. So there you can see some repair work going to go on to the track then before the race can get underway. Various machinery being brought in to just put the track into a completely safe condition before we can get racing underway. As I was mentioning, there's going to be some 18 of our Coppa Shell Am drivers, and it was Zoyas Skrimpias that took pole position from qualifying from Giuseppe Romelli and Andreas Koenig. They were the second and third drivers, and big welcome actually for the third driver, Andreas Koenig, racing for the Haupt racing team with Go Motorsport. So good to see HRT in the Ferrari Challenge. Then it was Andrea Levy, Eric Chung, Henrik Kamstrup, Roland Hertner, Shintaro Akatsu, Maurizio Pittori, Paolo Scudieri, Jan Benedict Sandman, Stephen Earl, Mutlu Tazev, Hassan Dabusi, Josef Schumacher, Lisa Clark, Alvaro Ramos, and Louis Perescoya. They're the top 18 drivers in qualifying, and the various positions in the order that I read the names out will be where they will start. New race duration for this year, 30 minutes plus 1 lap for the Ferrari Challenge across Coppa Shell Am, and very much looking forward to those cars out there on the track. So, as I say, we're looking at the San Donato turn, which is turn number 1, and perhaps you can appreciate a bit more from this angle just how the start-finish straight has 2 separate elevation changes as you climb up towards turn number 1. San Donato turn is turn number 1. So, as the repair work is going on, looks like one of the gullies there that needs repairing, and the team are down there working on that. Don't really know how long this is going to take, whether this is going to be the work of a moment or not. It looks like bricks are being put in there to fill something of a hole that has appeared from an earlier race. So track safety is, of course, of paramount importance, and there is our Richard Mille safety car standing by to welcome the cars out onto the track when it is usable and safe to do so. So, yeah, start delayed. Apologies to you for that, but quite clearly everything has to be spot on before we can go racing. And the Richard Mille safety car, it's not very often you see it on track on its own. And actually, in its own right, looks very, very stunning, that's for sure. The Ferrari Challenge weekend, the opening weekend of 2024 here at the Mugello circuit. Let's take a look at some earlier highlights of racing here in Ferrari Challenge then. Well, apparently not. Some cement is going to have to be put into there, I would think. That's what it certainly looks like at the moment. As I say, we are going to bring you some highlights of some earlier racing. Here they come. Well, apologies to the slight delay to the proceedings that we have currently. As you can see, some track repair work having to get underway, and the team working very, very hard on that. And just as soon as we can, we will get the race underway. But it is going to be a few moments before we can go racing. So the team are working, as you can see, as we speak. So there we have it. Just as soon as we can bring you any further news, when race control gives us some information in terms of how long this repair work will take, then we will bring that to you. So some details there on screen of the wonderful new challenge car, which is the 296. A truly remarkable car. Remarkable, if only for the fact that, not only for the fact, I should say, that every driver absolutely loves this car. Derived from the 296 GTB with a substantial power unit, aero and vehicle dynamics modifications. The first ever 6-cylinder engine in the challenge. What a car. So there you can see, if it's frustrating for you, imagine what it's like for the drivers, having to be very patient before the race can get underway. And there were some images of how the 2024 season has started across the UK, also Japan, and just last weekend in Coppa at the Circuit of the Americas. You may have noticed the observation tower at Coppa, which I refused point blank to go up on account of the fact I don't like heights very much, and I refused to do it. Not very brave. There you can see the repair work is going on. As I was mentioned, it's the first ever 6-cylinder engine in the Ferrari Challenge, the new track model sporting a 2,992cc V6, which unleashes up to 700 horsepower. It's an absolutely amazing car, which of course was unveiled here at the Mugello circuit during the Ferrari Finale Mondiale, which was here in October. There is Maurizio Pittori, who is one of the drivers who's having to be really rather patient. He will be going from P9 on the grid, the driver of the Radici Automobili Best Lap FCI team. Nothing like a workman that's prepared to use a broom, you know, to clear up after his work is complete. Very impressive here in Mugello. Well done. And, well, I think the repair work has been completed. Just a question of presumably just allowing that mix to go off and dry sufficiently before we can go racing. Right. Ferrari eSports, awesome. And onboard lap here at Mugello, equally awesome. Let's take a look.
Hello guys, I'm Gergo Badi from Scuderia Ferrari eSports team. Let me take you for a lap around Mugello in Assetto Corsa. Turn 1, you have to focus on the 100 meter, but you have to brake there heavily and switch down to second gear to have some extra revs at the exit. Careful on the throttle to avoid any oversteer moment. You can ruin this left a little bit to have a better exit out of this right, because you have a little bit longer straight after that. Use all the track on the outside. Aim for the 50 meter board. Again, same method as before. Ruin the left a little bit and have a really nice exit out of this right. Use all the track. Too fast right. Neither of them is flat, so you can leave the throttle there carefully. Aim for the curb there, switch down to second again to use the engine brake for helping the car stopping. Very important exit again, use all the red surface there. Huge braking toward this very long right-hander. You can get really easily an oversteer moment here, so be careful on the entry. You can leave some margin in the track here because you have this fast left-right that you need to take flat, so you can prepare for that. Brake at the 50 meter board in the last corner. Now you can go a little bit narrow to gain some meters, because you have still a long time till the start finish line, but you can gain some more time if you take it narrow. So that was a lap around Mugello.
That was great to watch and enjoy, and huge talent in esports, and great to see. So we are being advised that probably the pit lane is going to open in about 16 or 17 minutes time, as near as makes no difference. So progress is being made, and we will be going racing just as soon as it is safe to do so. Obviously, apologies for the delay, but quite clearly, everything has got to be right before we go racing. Let's take a look at some of the cars there. There is Louis Peruscua. Now, Louis is one of these drivers that, in the Ferrari Challenge, is a big regional series. We race in the UK, we race in Japan, and we also race in North America as well as here in Europe. You saw in a clip a few moments ago the openings, because we've seen the opening in the UK, in Japan, and also in North America, the opening races of the 2024 season. And that's what we were showing you the brief highlights of, because they were each in their own right absolutely awesome weekends. And it is the first round of our European season here this weekend in Mugello. Mugello always, or very nearly always, in fact I can't think of a recent season where we haven't been to Mugello, this wonderful 5.2 kilometer circuit, which forms part of Italian motorsport fable, to be fair, as we look at the 104 car there. And some lovely pictures and images that we are able to bring you. That was the Andreas Koenig car, the 104 car, driving, of course, for Gome Motorsports and Haupt Racing Team. The 168 car is our pole-sitting car, a brand new team, Reparto Corsa Ram, which is run by Giorgio Sanaggiotto. And Zois Skrimpias is the driver of that 168 car, who put it on pole position. Giuseppe Romelli will be going from P2, and Andreas Koenig will be going from P3. You can see that drivers are prepared, the hands device and crash helmets are on. They are ready just as soon as we get the okay now. We're being advised that the pit lane should open at around about 16:45, about 15 minutes from now. That can come down, if things happen. Then, it might be that we go a bit earlier, but we have to be advised by those technicians and people around, engineers around the circuit, and there you can see they are returning to the pit lane now, satisfied that the repairs they've made to the track are satisfactory. Just need some time before we can get our racing underway. So once again, apologies for the delay. We're live from Mugello, the Ferrari Challenge opening weekend in Europe here for 2024. And alongside me is Nico Spalek, who has been in constant dialogue with not only race control, broadcast control, and mission control as well. And I guess you're going to say it's pit lane opening at 16:45. Is that confirmed?
Yeah, that's all the information that we have, and that means probably that the pit lane will stay open for 10 minutes, and it's a 10-minute board, so that means 20 minutes before we get the race underway for real. And that will unleash finally all our contestants in the Coppa Shell. And one of those you spoke to yesterday is a certain gentleman called Henrik Kamstrup.
Well, basically in 17 I didn't join Formula. I did that in 2020. I didn't have a coach before, but I got that in Formula, said you need a coach. When I got the coach, then things changed. So I began to get some points, and finally last year was a good year. Well, most important is to get confident with the new car, of course. Then I think when you are that, you can handle any track basically. So it's like to get the car on you like a suit. That's a feeling you have to have. You have to dance with the car somehow. When you get to that point, you can do any track. Again, that the car is like going 2 steps up. The 4A is a fantastic car. The same thing, you just feel it like your body somehow, like a piece of cloth. Same, I'm pretty confident with the 296. But when you're out there, you fight for the win. We always go for the winning, for sure. But you don't, you're driving as a gentleman somehow. You're not just bumping into people just in order to win. That's not racing in my opinion. So I like to win the right way. So simply just being faster. So that's what it's all about.
Indeed, thanks Henrik Kamstrup, who I spent some time with yesterday. And Henrik, qualifying from P6, row 3 start. And Henrik, a lovely gentleman who's really, really improved in the Ferrari Challenge, and is enjoying his time in the Ferrari Challenge. We see this with drivers who, they come into it, and sorry to say, it's kind of addictive. Once you're in it, you don't want to be out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw him over lunch, and he was like, "Yeah, P6 is all right." But,
Yep.
I had the lap.
Okay.
I was 2.5 tenths projected quicker, and then traffic happened. And that is always the risk in qualifying. You've got 18 entries in the Coppa Shell M class, and that means that, there is theoretically enough tarmac for all of the drivers. But when there are different strategies on different parts of bringing the tires up to speed and flying laps and slow down laps, space can be so precious, and you can run out of it. And looking probably to put the final touches on those repairs.
Yeah, it looks like he was going to do a bit of what we call pointing.
Giving a little bit of structure to the surface.
Oh, look at that. That is just beauty personified, isn't it? That is awesome.
It also looks quite
Regrettably,
complicated.
it's not my car.
I think it looks quite complicated. I'm quite happy that the buttons I have in my car are more for the AC and for music and entertainment. That would be too much for me personally. But
Well, those are wet weather tyres. Hopefully, we're not going to. Hey, well, look, he's doing some pointing, just making it smooth and lovely, and ordering a takeaway while he's doing it. Multitasking, brilliant stuff. Some lovely shots that we can bring you from the from the pit lane. The Ferrari Club Italia being represented there, and that is a thing of beauty as well, the power plant. My goodness me. Really, really impressive to look at. There we are. I think everyone is satisfied with what's been done. Oh, no, not quite. Just a little bit of feathering to go on here. There is Alexander Nussbaumer. Alexander Nussbaumer then just discussing with his HRT team. And you can also see Mr. Andrea Bertolini, I think it is, down there in the pit lane. And he, of course, is a driver advisor this weekend, the official Ferrari GT driver.
Hello guys, my name is Luca Ludwig. I'm a racing driver for Mertel Motorsport. This track is really special for me. It's one of the most beautiful tracks on the world. If I have to pick just one or two, I would choose the middle sector with Casanova and Savelli. These two corners are very, very special because actually you can take different lines there. There are two alternatives of lines in Casanova. Either you go in very fast and have to reduce the speed in Savelli, or you reduce the speed in the first one in Casanova to get a better exit of the second one. Later on, Arrabbiata. Such an historic place. I remember my dad running there, and so it's very emotional for me. Arrabbiata 1 and Arrabbiata 2, so iconic to drive here. So the first corner is actually very important because there's one of the very rare spots where it's actually possible to overtake someone. This is the reason why turn 1 is always crucial, and especially in qualifying you want to have the perfect braking point to get into a rhythm and to make a perfect lap in the end.
Well done to Luca Ludwig, who just proving the point that when we started here this week and started working in the preparations of the Ferrari Challenge for this weekend, the weather conditions were somewhat different to what they are today. And because Luca mentioned his father, I feel I can as well. Klaus Ludwig, a very successful racing driver, and Luca, in his own right, a very successful racing driver who races in the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli category. So we're going to hear next from some more of our drivers, and I think it's Andreas Berg Sorensen that we're going to be talking to next. What a nice young man he is.
I think it's fantastic to be back, and you know, walking around the pit wall, you know, everybody is the same, everybody has had a good weekend, and for me as well, especially in the new car, you know, everything is going to be a lot different this year in a very positive way. So yeah, I look forward to that. The seat is more comfortable, but other than that, it actually wants to help you. It doesn't want to bite your head off like the old car did. So I think it's you can push it a lot harder. It's a lot quicker. Well, at least I do. It's much better. I want to make podiums. That's of course the goal. That's why we all are here, you know, trying to win. But for sure, that's what we will be fighting for. My expectation is to make my first win and to make 5 podiums at least. And of course to have fun being here and, you know, beating this guy, I think is, well, that's my main focus, you know, have fun.
I first met Andreas Berg Sorensen in Dubai when he took part in last year's Ferrari Challenge Winter Series. and very, very articulate young man, and clearly talented, and hoping for good things. And I have to say, he's laying his targets out for everyone to know now what he wants to achieve. And, well, we wish him well in his pursuit of so doing it. He has the talent to do it. He has the car to do it. We will see if he can. Now, another driver that was very, very successful last year is Motohiko Isesaki, because, of course, he won the Coppa Shell Am Championship. So earlier on, we managed to catch up with Motohiko.
This year, I'm class 1 up. Maybe I cannot take a P1, but I won't say always. Car is fine, very nice, so I won't say really full attack. Always full attack. I won't say this because just one time I want a chance. P1, P2, something, just one time. I want only this. Engine is so nice V6. No stress, gap, shift down, no stress. For me, I want to say this is a real racing. Number one, for me, number one racing car. My hand shaking. I don't know why, but shaking. It's me. Thank you very much, Ferrari. So nice fun car. Thank you very much. This year, I want one more challenge. New challenge seasons. But everybody kindly, everybody fun. So for me, it's good, but I want one more for my life, one more strong challenge. I want this. Really, I want this. One more challenge.
He is a lovely gentleman, Motohiko Isesaki, who incidentally was racing in the Ferrari Challenge Japan when that got underway in support of Formula One at the Suzuka circuit just a few weeks ago. Motohiko Isesaki, who of course won the Coppa Shell Am Championship last year, and therefore has been elevated to the Coppa Shell Championship, where he has aspirations, but he's not being overconfident in terms of what he can achieve. He knows it's going to be a big ask, but fair play to Motohiko Isesaki. I mean, he had a really, really good battle last year to take the championship title, and that battle with Kirk Beerwold, which was...
Sì, ragazzi, siamo qui con Manu dal muretto, stavamo un po' fuori onda chiacchierando su come è iniziata questa stagione e il feeling con la...
So we saw there briefly Manuela Gosner and Ludovica, just very briefly, Nico.
Yeah, definitely. And Manuela Gosner, obviously, she already raced in the Coppa Shell race as we're waiting for the Coppa Shell Ams. And there's only 3 more minutes until the pit lane will open and release.
And if anyone is nearby our hospitality area, black English breakfast tea, small amount of milk, that would be most welcome.
I can't say at this hour I would like a cappuccino, but I kind of do.
Yeah, so 1 cappuccino, 1 English breakfast tea with milk. Thank you. We are, of course, being flippant as we look at the 134, although we did mean it, as we look at the 134 car of Mutlu Tazev of Emil Frey Racing, and look back again at turn number 1. Turn number 1 is the San Donato turn as you run uphill here at the Mugello circuit. From my side, it's a thrill to be back with the Ferrari Challenge in Europe. I am very, very privileged because I and you, Nico, you know, we were at the Winter Challenge in Abu Dhabi earlier on this year. Then we had a bit of a break, and then the UK series got underway at Brands Hatch. Then it was off to the Circuit of the Americas for the opening round of the North American series, and here we are in Europe as we look at our pole sitter, Zois Skrimpias, who will be going from P1. Sadly, I didn't get to go to the first round of the Ferrari Challenge Japan at Suzuka, but there we are. No. There is... there we can see the final tamping down, if you like, of the repairs that have been made. I hope you're impressed that I'm coming out with all these construction terms that are known, you know?
Yeah. If I had known you for 15 years, which is a little bit of a anniversary for us,
Yes, it is.
and I didn't know your background is so multifaceted, I would be very shocked. But no, you're a man of many talents, and many talents are on the grid.
Look at that paddock. It's an awesome paddock. I was talking to Timo Glock earlier, who's racing in the Ferrari Challenge this weekend, and he said, boy, and I've known Timo as long as I've known you, and Timo just says, you feel like you've arrived. This is, his word was proper. I mean, it is. It's an extraordinary experience being part of the Ferrari Challenge, and very privileged to be part of it, and have been for some. Is that right? 15 years.
Sorry to say, yes, that's right. Just an indication of that we're still
How have I not been found out yet?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, found out in this case means that we've just found out that the pit lane will open 5 minutes later at 16:50 rather than 45, which would be only 10 seconds from now. And we have been advised that a bollard will be at the curb at exit of turn 7,
Well,
which
that's a target if ever anyone wanted one.
No.
Please drive slowly.
The drivers will behave.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Oh, there we have it. Bollard on the curb at the exit of turn 7.
For me, it's the first time to starting a Ferrari race. The first impression is very, very nice. As the Ferrari company is a very excellent brand in Italy. People very proud for me. Mugello circuit is very, very nice. It's a very technical circuit. It's not easy because Arrabbiato 1, Arrabbiato 2 is very technical. The best circuit in Italy. The car is amazing. It's a very amazing car. The first impression is very, very good.
It was nice to hear from Alessandro Pierluigi Alessandro there. There is the Richard Mille safety car.
Yes, sir.
18 drivers will eventually be taking to the track. Unfortunately, the pit lane's opening has been, as Nico said to us just a few moments ago, has been put back by only 5 minutes or so. Everything that's you have to wait for is worth waiting for, generally speaking, I find. And there, when you're able to look at this wonderful machinery, these wonderful racing cars, the Ferrari 296 car. You just see the Lisa Clark car just coming out of the garage. Lisa Clark driving for Pellin Racing. I met her driver coach Kirk earlier on today, who's a racer in the United States, and very nice man that I was able to chat to. Can also see Mr. Antonello Coletta there, global head of endurance racing for Ferrari down there. In conversations near Lisa's car, Nico.
Yeah, and that was a positive sign. You could see that people were released and it looked like they were heading onto the main straight, and that means the grid is going to open fairly soon. We're about 2 minutes away, and just as a reinforcement and confirmation of what we were thinking, yeah, it's been a while. Everybody found their favorite game of cards or whatever they were doing to bridge the time as the road works were going on. But now the tension and the excitement starts to build. And I mean, for the drivers especially, it is quite tricky. I mean, you build your day around when you have your qualifying, when you have your race.
Psychologically build to that, don't you?
Absolutely. And now it's like almost, I want to say almost an hour. That you're later in your rhythm, and I mean, the drivers are not professionals in the way that this is their livelihood, but they take it very seriously.
Absolutely.
And we've seen that. And they want to do the best they can on the track. And they only get like 7 opportunities if you're not taking part in multiple versions of the Ferrari Challenge across different regions. And you want to do the best you can at your opportunity. And so that 1 hour delay is something you have to overcome.
Well, you talk a lot of sense. Now, one of our no, you don't. One of our Ferrari Challenge drivers is Alexander Nussbaumer, and I understand that Ludovica has caught up with him.
Thank you, guys. Here we are from the grid of Mugello with Alexander Nussbaumer for discover it more and relive with him his race of today, the first race of the season.
It was a tricky race for me. We had the issue with the tire pressure, so it was very, very difficult to drive for me. Qualifying was brilliant and great, but I'm sorry for the race. I had no chance with this tire pressure. There was an issue in the car.
And Alexander, the last question very quickly, the feeling with the car.
The car is very interesting. It's much closer to GT3 car. It makes a lot of fun, huge horsepower and very nice to drive. I love the car.
Thank you so much.
Bye, ciao.
Thank you, Ludovica. Thank you to Alexander Nussbaumer, who, yes, he didn't have the race that he really, really wanted, unfortunately. We are just 1 second away from the light going green. There it is, and the first to make his way out onto the grid is going to be the driver of the 181 car, which is one Mr. M. Pittori, Maurizio, driving for Radici Automobili, Best Lap FCI. Look at all these cars streaming out of the pit lane now as we get to hear those power plants really roar into life. And I have to say, I've been looking forward to this, and well, the car's on their way right now. There's the very familiar colours of the Lisa Clark paint scheme. And I have to say, Nico, something that has changed this year is some of the drivers' liveries, which always makes it difficult, you know, because you get into a comfort zone of knowing, almost just looking at the car without having to look at the number, you know whose car it is. And actually, Swines, some of them have changed their liveries so much that it's really difficult to identify. There is one of the most striking ones, and that is of the Eberlein Schumacher racing car of Josef Schumacher, not this one. This one is the number 150 car, which in its own way is beautiful. Alvaro Ramos, who drives that. But yes, the Josef Schumacher car is one of the noteworthy ones. And here comes the number 100 car of Dr. Stephen Earle for Kessel Racing, who is heading out onto the track. This is Andreas Koenig, which you were remarking on the very, very clever. Here is, forgive me, here is the very, very striking colours there of the Josef Schumacher car.
Yeah, absolutely. The Andreas Koenig car, which now comes into shot, is the green car. No, it's the red car. It really depends which side of the car you're looking at. It's certainly a very beautiful car, but they're all beautiful because there are 296 challenge cars. But the style and the character which is expressed through the livery, and very often it is the character of the driver of the car that gets its expression on the livery, really, really striking.
That is the 100 car that we talked about just a couple of moments ago, making its way out onto the track of Dr. Stephen Earle. Paolo Scudieri, one of the few drivers that's kept the same livery scheme as last year. Thanks, Paolo. It made our lives just a tad easier. We appreciate that, Mr. Scudieri. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you can see that it has been adapted to fit the shape and the peculiarities of the new car, but certainly the scheme, the colors itself, those have been retained. And Paolo Scudieri has been sporting that livery for quite some time. And it's good to have new stuff, but also some tradition.
Yes, familiar is sometimes very, very favorite. Talking of familiar, can I just a big shout out to a driver that's missing this weekend, who's just messaged me saying it's really, really tough to watch this racing and not be taking part in it. And then that's one Mr. Axel Sartinger, who, through no fault of motor racing, suffered a small injury and is missing from the grid this weekend, but desperately wants to be here. So, Axel, from all of us, get well soon, get back in the car. I know Christian Kinch is particularly wanting you to be back, and has plastered it all over his car because so want you to be back. And yes, best wishes from all of us for a very, very speedy recovery. We need the Joker back, the entertainer, Mr. Axel Sardikin. So yeah, all good wishes to you, friend. We look forward to seeing you back very, very soon. This is Zois Skrimpias, the Inico Ripardo Corsa Ram team driver, who's put that car on P1 for the first race of 2024 in Coppa Am.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very impressive showing by him, and he will look to convert that P1 in qualifying, ideally to a P1 race. I mean, who wouldn't, obviously. Talking about Axel and coming back, obviously our next stop after this one, we still have 4 races to go, so let's not look too far ahead, but that will be Balaton the first weekend of June. So, you know, it's a very nice region there, so if you've got no other plans, come visit us at the Ferrari Challenge, experience this paddock and all the great characters, of which Axel Sardikin is but one of them. Experience it firsthand and see what it's like to come to a Ferrari Challenge event with lots of things going on around the challenge. But I mean, we have over 70 entries here on this entry list for Mugello, so there is quite a lot going on in the racing, and there is quite a lot more going on around the racing activities.
Yeah, and I'm led to believe, talking to Benz Valiant and 1 or 2 other drivers that come from that region, that the Balaton area is very much a sort of a tourist part of Hungary, which I've never experienced before. Naturally, I've been to Budapest quite a few times, and I still find it one of the most evocative cities. Yeah, very, very interesting that we've got a brand new circuit, and very much looking forward to going to Balaton and in Hungary.
Yeah, and
to say that travel for that has not been the easiest in the world, but
we're not there yet.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
But I mean, overall, the calendar this year, as
to Geneva first, are we? I can't remember.
I think it was somewhere in the US. No, but I mean, we've got a really, really magnificent calendar in store for these drivers, and fortunately that means for us as well.
Of course.
We've got Jerez in the south of Spain. We've got Portimao, the Algarve circuit.
Yep.
The south of France with Le Castellet. Not too shabby a destination among the 3 of them, but then obviously the pinnacle of holiday tourism has to be the Eifel region and the Nürburgring, which...
And we have a number of friends in obviously in the Eifel region. We have a number of friends in the Algarve as well. I wonder if we can catch up with any of them whilst we're there. That would be nice to see. I'm thinking of some Viking chap who's very tall.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Torsten, if you're available, we'd love to have a drink with you. Tea, white, no sugar. Giuseppe Romelli is going from P2 on the grid. The driver supported by Stefano Pellin of Pellin Racing. He goes from P2 on the grid. You can never, ever rule out Giuseppe Romelli from being right at the very, very sharp end of not only qualifying, where he's put the car P2, but also come the end of the race as well. As a precursor, we have seen in the previous 2 races in Ferrari Challenge today that track limits are being tested somewhat. Equally testing is Claudio Garavini and his team in race control in terms of penalising you if you exceed the track limits. And the deal is, you get 3 warnings. Once you've had 3 warnings, you get awarded with time penalties, and they continue going on repetition of track exceed times you do it, you get hit hard.
Yeah, the first penalty is 5 seconds for the 4th infringement.
Yes,
good word. 10 seconds for the 8th, 15 seconds for the 12th. So you get the freebies in between, sort of. And it's not that the 5 second becomes a 10. No. Those are cumulative. And as Claudio said in the driver's briefing, if you exceed it more than 12 times, race control will find an apt response to that, and let's not lose sight, for each time penalty you also get penalty point within the series, and if you accumulate too many of that, I guess you guess that's not necessarily a good thing. A good thing is that most of the cars have made it onto the onto the grid, of course, and we follow our pole sitter who takes center stage, and you can see lots of people expecting the Zoe Scrimpius car and the driver in P1 on the grid. First row seat just behind the Richard Mille safety car.
Forgive me, chuckling like Muttley alongside you here. It reminds me of a race that absolutely was not a Ferrari Challenge race. I want to make that clear. Where a driver did so many time penalties, he ended up getting a drive-through penalty. Didn't take the drive-through penalty, so the black flag was shown, which is very rare in motor racing. It certainly wouldn't happen in the Ferrari Challenge. And the official was so cross, he kept showing the black flag to said driver, who was taking no notice of it whatsoever. On about the third or fourth time of him showing him the black flag, he actually threw it at the car. He was so frustrated. Sorry. I've got many memories in motor racing, most of them formed of Ferrari. That one wasn't.
Yeah, and there is, you mentioned it before, the Josef Schumacher car with...
Forgive me, Max Mugello offering his advice. And, of course, the reason for that is that Josef Schumacher, who's one of the big characters, Eberlein Schumacher Racing with Max Mugello offering his advice as sort of team coach, if you will. And Max Mugello, who of course has been out in his Trofeo Pirelli race. This is Roland Hurtner. And Roland Hurtner returning to the Ferrari Challenge, the Gome Motorsport Engstler driver. And there's Roland. He's in the zone, Nico. There you can see, just thinking about what he's going to do as he heads up towards the San Donato turn, and how he's going to be able to deal with that going into turn number one. A lot of that will depend on what's going on around him, I suspect, as we look at the number 150 car of Alvaro Ramos, the Santigol driver, and it's Zois Scrimpias, who Nico said he is going from pole position with Giuseppe Romelli alongside keeping him company on the front row of the grid. They're ahead of Andreas Koenig and Andrea Levy. Eric Chung, good qualifying from Eric. And there is Andrea Fausti. Andrea Fausti then, one of the driver coaches here with his driver down there. So Andrea offering his final words of encouragement to the driver that he looks after in the Ferrari Challenge. And the driver that he looks after is, of course, Stephen Earle, Dr. Stephen Earle of Kessel Racing. Maurizio Pittori, we can see there. And Maurizio Pittori receiving final words of advice also. The 119 car is run by Louis Peruschia. Love the look of this 119 car, and good luck in the race, Louis. Really lovely gentleman. And he will be going from P18 on the grid. 30 minutes plus 1 lap as we look at Paolo Scudieri, who's also a driver always to be reckoned with. He's on the 5th row of the grid. He will be going from P10. And he too is in the zone.
With 8 minutes remaining until the start of the race, or rather the formation lap, we have the opportunity of going down to the grid with Ludovica one more time, and we understand that she has an interesting person to talk to, herself and others.
Thank you, guys. Welcome to Mugello Circuit. We are on the grid. Here is the first poleman of the Coppa Scelam, the first race one of this season 2024 of the Ferrari Challenge Europe. The team and the driver, Zoe's driver, had a very good day and a very good qualifying session in this morning. I told before with Giorgio Sernagiotto, which is say that Manu, that she is with me in this moment, was very important, Manu, for the pole of today. Your results, your time lap in these days, for build this qualifying session and the race of today.
Yeah, I am super happy with the performance of the car and the team and everything we created together. And the times are actually quite good, also in qualifying and also during the race. The pace was really good. Unfortunately, I had a bad situation at the start, and the front guys were a little bit confused about where to go, so I was not able to pass them. But the pace was brilliant, and I passed Dillon, and then I catch the first guys. So then, unfortunately, we were fighting, and I ended up in the gravel. But that's part of the fighting sometimes, unfortunately. But I'm super happy for the race tomorrow, and I'm with a very optimistic spirit, and I can't wait for the qualifying tomorrow.
Manu, thank you for relying with us your race, but I want to ask you something about the pole of Coppa Shell, the result that you built with the team, because it's very important.
Yes, the third time I didn't do the pole position.
No, the poleman of Coppa Shell, Zois. Don't worry, Manu.
So excuse me. No, super happy about Zois. He has nearly no experience, and he have done so little kilometers on this racing car, but even on other racing cars. So we are so happy, and he's really a natural talent, and no fear and nothing, and he loves the speed and the new 296. So no, we are super proud. All the guys of Ineco Reparto Costeram are super proud about Zois.
Thank you so much, Manu.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Back to you guys.
Thank you, Manuela Gosner. And yes, everyone's super happy about Zois is qualifying. Josef Schumacher, we can see there in the 188 car. And final stages of preparation getting underway for many of our drivers who are in the car. And you can see other drivers from other categories of the Ferrari Challenge who come out on the grid to support those drivers as well, which is always lovely to see. And yeah, it's a busy place down there. They're the 134 car of Mutlu Tazev, the Emil Frey Racing driver. And Mutlu returns to the Ferrari Challenge this year, and very welcome back. And well, unbelievably, the start race jingle is being lined up as we speak, I'm being told. Very, very happy to hear that news, I have to say. And yeah, there is Max Mugello walking away from the grid now. And this is going to become, like the von Skelterman Shark's Teeth car, this is going to be a very, very photographed car, I can tell you that, Nico.
Yeah, there's some ice cream, some palms. Really appealing livery, I have to say. Now I want some ice cream.
Yeah, well, that hint will go as well as the tea hint. Right, there we are. Stand by. We are but 8 seconds away from the start race jingle, which is going to play out right now. The Richard Mille safety car is ready to lead the cars away for our 30 minutes plus 1 lap race that is our Coppa Shell Am race here as part of our opening weekend for 2024 in the Ferrari Challenge. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your patience in terms of waiting for us to get the race underway. Brought about by virtue of the fact that just 1 or 2 track repairs had to be done. We talk often about the integral safety of our racing cars from Ferrari. Of course, there has to be integral safety on the racing circuit as well. And well done to the team for ensuring that is the case as we look at the Andreas Koenig car. Thumbs up from Andreas Koenig, and he's just about ready to get going here. 30 minutes plus 1 lap. Local time is just after 10 past 5 here in Mugello. Thank you for being with us for Coppa Shell Am Race 1, their first race of our 2024 season, which is about to get underway, our 2024 season here in Europe. Of course, the Ferrari Challenge, its tentacles extend around the world with Ferrari Challenge here in Europe, also in North America, as well as the series in Japan and the UK. We'll be racing next in Europe when we go off to that brand new circuit of Balaton. But a number of races still to come here before this weekend closes out. So looking forward to day 2 tomorrow. So just awaiting the final people to leave the grid, and the safety car will be off, and we will be ready for racing. Drivers will be champing at the bit, I should think, to get going. 18 cars, and here comes the 1 minute board. Now they go. Marvelous how I did that, you know. Amaze myself at times.
Timing is everything, and yeah, it's about time that we get this race underway. And as beautiful as the 296 Challenge cars are in a stationary position, they become so much more beautiful and admirable when they get in motion, and we can not only see them, but we can also hear the power plants develop that amazing 6-cylinder.
And it's actually, I've not said this, and I'll probably get told off for it. I love the sound of the 6-cylinder engine. It sounds utterly awesome. Being a huge music fan as I am, it's gorgeous to listen to. So we will hear it in full effect when 18 of them rev up and give it 100% on the loud pedal in but a few moments' time. The Richard Mills safety car has left the start-finish line, and our cars will follow suit. Zeus Scrimpias, Giuseppe Romelli, Andreas Koenig, Andrea Levy. I'll bring you the grid in full. We will bring you the grid in full. Because not only will it be in voice, of which mine I'm sure you're tired of now, and I apologize for that, we'll do it in graphics also. Hey, we like to bring you value here at the Ferrari Challenge, you know. And stand by, here it comes then. Here comes the grid in full. Any minute. Row 1. Zeus Scrimpias goes from P1, Giuseppe Romelli alongside. To row 2, Andreas Koenig and Andrea Levy. They are P3 and P4. Then it's Eric Chung and Henrik Kamstrup going from P5 and 6. Roland Hurtner, Shintaro Akatsu go from P7 and 8. Maurizio Pittori and Paolo Scudieri are 9 and 10, with Jan Benedict Sanderman and Stephen Earle, P11 and 12. Mutlu Tasev and Hassan Dabusi go from P13 and 14, with Josef Schumacher and Lisa Clark going from the 8th row of the grid, and Alvaro Romas and Louis Peruschia going from P17 and P18. Those are your 18 drivers for the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Am, live from the undulating Mugello circuit. In case you've forgotten, 5.245 kilometers, 14 turns, 6 left, 8 right. Sector 1 contains 3 of the turns, Sector 2, 6 of them, and Sector 3, 5 of them. We're just under an hour from Florence, about an hour and 10 from Bologna, depending on your rental car, and situated in Scarperia, right here in Tuscany. Lovely place to be. We were here in October for the Finale Mondiale, and we're here for that kickoff of the 2024 European season. When the cars turn right, as they will, or left as you're looking at the screen, they'll be starting the run downhill to close out the lap. They'll be invited by the marshals either side of the track to form up in grid formation. That's side-by-side formation. The Richard Mills safety car will peel off. There you go. There is the very man telling you to grid up. The Richard Mills safety car will peel off into the pit lane, and it will be the responsibility of the front row of the grid, which is Zeus Scrimpias and Giuseppe Romelli, who basically have to control the pace of the rolling start. And once our race director's team are happy with the way all the cars are lined up and look, then the lights will be extinguished and we will be racing for 30 minutes plus 1 lap of non-stop. Brilliant racing from the Ferrari Challenge and Coppa Shell Am with the all-new Ferrari 296. Here we go then, and safety car peels off now. We throw the lighting gantry to the top of the screen so that you can see exactly what the drivers see as approaching. This is the first uphill section on the start-finish straight. Zeus Scrimpias has put it on pole position. The real lighting gantry on the left-hand side. It goes out. Good start from Zeus. Good start from Paolo Scudieri as well. So as the cars all head to turn number 1 for the first time of asking, bear in mind that these cars are going to be on relatively cold tyres. Grip is going to be at a premium. And I said, don't rule out Giuseppe Romelli right at the start of the race. And, well, he has put himself into the lead of the race. Giuseppe Romelli leads from Zois Skrimpias. Andreas Koenig steadfast in P3 ahead of Levy. But then it's Chung and Kamstrup and Sandman, Hörner, Scudieri, Pittori, and Dr. Stephen Earle. Start is under investigation. That will be as to where the drivers were positioned as they crossed the start line, whether the race control felt that there were drivers potentially out of position. We'll keep you posted if we hear anything, of course.
Yeah, and the good thing for sure is that all the drivers made it through the bottleneck of the first few turns all unscathed. So we continue with our 18 drivers. Generally, when the start is under investigation, that means that race director Claudio Garini feels like one of the drivers didn't file in behind the other drivers. The rule is you have to go through the grid boxes at 70 kilometers per hour, and only when the lights are extinguished you may fan out and find a way past the driver in front of you. If you do that before, that is frowned upon and can incur a penalty, and that is what's being looked at in the stewards' room.
One driver that is really champing at the bit is Henrik Kamstrup. We heard from him earlier on in our program, and he's running in P7 at the moment. He's got Jan Benedict Sandman ahead of him. Then ahead of him is Eric Chung. But keep your eyes on the metallic blue car as now Henrik Kamstrup tries to dive to the inside. It's just behind this little battle. There is the all-blue car of Henrik Kamstrup. He took a look at the inside, but nothing was doing. But he's certainly harrowing, and half the reason for that is he's got a Paolo Scudieri up his trumpet right behind him. So this is going to play out, I'm sure, in the early stages of this race. And Andreas Koenig is just looking at this and thinking, do you know what? I need to wrestle away this P2 from Zois Skrimpias as quickly as I can, because he's very, very close to the 168 car, which started, of course, from pole position. Although our current race leader, the driver that is leading the race on track, Giuseppe Romelli, has been deemed to be, his alignment for the starting procedure was incorrect. Therefore, he has immediately picked up a drive-through penalty. I have to say, it didn't take race control very long to ascertain that, so that has got to be a slam dunk.
Yeah, I mean, the advantage for race control there is you have a clean view.
Yes.
The car is not hidden behind others, so it's very, very obvious if you are not in line with where you want to be. And certainly we will get a replay of the start later on, and that will be something that we will focus on. But that means Zois Skrimpias, he doesn't really have to attack too much. Obviously, he wants to get up the road and get as much space between himself and Andreas Koenig. But he doesn't have to worry about attacking Giuseppe Romelli, even if he's in striking distance, because he knows that red and yellow car will have to disappear into pit lane before too long.
I bet you that HRT are on the radio to Andreas Koenig already saying, keep with, because this is going to be for the lead of the race. So Andreas Koenig is trying to unsettle Zois Skrimpias. And look, going through the final turn, it's not very often you see the overtake happen in the turn. Giuseppe Romelli takes his drive-through penalty, and the new leader of the race is Andreas Koenig, who did a very, very good job of unsettling Zois Skrimpias and therefore put himself into the lead of the race. So great drive there from Andreas Koenig, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. Made it from P3 to P1 within the matter of a few meters. One obviously through the penalty, but the other one a very, very clean and rare overtake to that final turn. And maybe Zois Skrimpias, as we heard from Manuel Agostner, he doesn't have that much racing experience, and maybe Andreas Koenig just was able to utilize that to his advantage. There is our previous race leader, Giuseppe Romelli, and obviously this early in the race with hardly any gaps between the cars, that means he's dropped from P1 to P dead last, and he will have the bit between his teeth. He's going to try and go back, come up through the ranks, and we will have a look at the start, I understand, fairly soon. So before we do that, we have another look at Andreas Koenig, who's leading the race.
But he's coming under pressure. I'll tell you what, Zeus Skrimpias is not letting him get away with this. Fair play to Zeus then, with no racing experience. As we take a look at a replay of the start, well, Romelli was ahead, wasn't he?
Yeah, although, let's look at that, because that's ahead of the start line, and it's difficult to judge from the front, but I mean, Claudio Garavini for sure.
Perhaps we can see it a bit better from this angle, Nico?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
He was accelerating, wasn't he? And he was away, and ultimately it is our pole sitter, Zeus Skrimpias, who controls the pace. Well, that being said, as we continue to look at this replay, it was good. Zeus Skrimpias, I'm really impressed here, because Andreas Koenig has not been able to break away at all. In fact, these two have broken away from the rest as a very good save. Is that Eric Chung that held on to that there?
Yeah, it looked like it. Just missed the braking spot by just a little bit, but then really controlled it nicely to avoid beaching it in the gravel. So good control there, and showed all his experience from many years of Ferrari challenge and other Ferrari activities. And there is another replay.
Yeah, just missed a braking point.
Yeah. And then went to the outside as to not clutter into the back of the Andrea Levy car ahead of him. So
very good driving.
Yeah, very good driving, very fair driving as well. Would have been oh so easy to just use the car in front of him as a little bit of a brake pad. And didn't do that.
No. So Zeus then, having had the lead taken away from him, is pushing, and Andreas Koenig has not been able to brake probably away and create the safety cushion that he would have liked to have done. The margin between them, it's 5 3/4, as Andreas Koenig now does set this fastest lap of 1:53.040. Zeus does need to be careful though, track limits. Oh, and so too does Andreas Koenig, who picks up track limit violation through sector 1. Now it's fine. You can get some warnings, but actually warnings become time penalties at some point, as Josef Schumacher almost runs the risk of carrying too much speed, and Akatsu trying to take advantage. And Akatsu, what he's doing here is trying to provoke a mistake from Josef Schumacher. It's not come quite yet, but you can see these two are really battling, and Josef Schumacher taking his racing very seriously this year. Has a new regime and a new team, and yes, Josef Schumacher is complete with a resplendent new car on a mission for 2024. Now, can Shintaro Akatsu get a benefit of the draft here on the Josef Schumacher car? It's a long way around the outside on turn number 1, and Josef Schumacher tight in. Now, well, I rather think that Akatsu was looking for the opportunity to dive to the inside there and get the switchback, but it wasn't able to happen. So Andreas Koenig is now beginning to build up a bit of a margin. I just wonder whether Zeus has made a mistake or not, because here comes Akatsu again on Josef Schumacher through the chicane. And Josef Schumacher, for the moment, is able to hold on to that P11 place, but he's under a lot of pressure. There is no question about it that the pace advantage, I would suggest, is with Shintaro Akatsu. But it's all very well being quicker than the car in front of you. You've got to find a way by that car in front of you as well. And Josef Schumacher is defending his position very steadfastly and very fairly. So that makes it a very difficult job for Shintaro, who's got to work really hard. And I think it's fair to say that overtaking is possible here at Mugello. There are not so many places where it's obvious to put it to work. But there you can see just another, what Shintaro was doing there was almost trying to send a dummy to Josef Schumacher. Josef was wise to it. He didn't make the mistake that Shintaro would have been hoping that he would. I don't know whether Zeus has maybe made a mistake just looking at the timing screen, because the gap has gone up to 1.5 seconds between P1 and P2, which means that Andreas Koenig has broken out just a bit of a gap. But these two, well, they are virtually together. This is the fight that's going on for P11 and P12. Now, getting the benefit of a little bit of a draft off the car in front is Shintaro Akatsu. He is on the outside of Josef Schumacher, and he heads in now. He's going to go for this switchback again, but Josef Schumacher keeps the door closed, which is his right to do so, as we see that Eric Chung has received a time penalty of 5 seconds. That means his warnings are done and dusted, and now another one that's getting a time penalty is the number 150 car of Alvaro Ramos. So lots of time penalties now beginning to be handed out. So Andreas Koenig, Zeus Skrimpias, Adria Levy, and then Eric Chung. And Eric Chung's P4 is under threat now with that time penalty. First 10 minutes of the race are done, and you can see that Andreas Koenig is just looking a little bit more comfortable out there.
Yeah, definitely. But as you already said, Zeus Skrimpias, I mean, he is really, really keeping with Andreas Koenig and trying not to be too hard on his tires. And there it looks like the 115 car ahead of Schumacher. Can he hold on to it? Ran a little bit wide into that chicane, but I think Akatsu made it stick there, and that's the overtake done then in that case. And he had to work hard for it, but he got it done within a couple of laps, and that means he has been released, and now he can look forward towards Maurizio Pittori and potentially attack for the P10 position.
Well called and well spotted. So Andreas Koenig, who is driving, of course, for Go Motorsport and Haupt Racing Team, sets the fastest lap and is in the lead by some 7/10 over Zeus Skrimpias, and then Andrea Levy ahead of Eric Chung, Jan Benedict Sandeman, then it's Henrik Hamstrup, Paolo Scudieri, Roland Hurtner, Stephen Earle, and Maurizio Pittori. They are the top 10 in our Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell AM race, live from the Mugello circuit. The 5.245 roller coaster around the Tuscan countryside, where these two are kind of pulling each other along. Andreas Koenig and Zeus Skrimpias just escaping up the road a little bit from Andrea Levy. Currently, they have got a fantastic pace, each of them. And yes, as I say, those two are broken away from the rest of the pack. Andrea Levy has just received a track limits warning violation as well, or track limits violation, which has prompted a warning. So we'll see if he has to just keep it within the white lines to avoid any more and imperil your current P3 place. In all of this, where is Henrik Hamstrup? P6. Just see him at the back of the shot there in the metallic blue car. And he's got in his target sights Jan Sandman up next. Meantime, this little battle has been going on between Maurizio Pittori and Shintaro Akatsu continues. This is over P10.
Yeah, and Akatsu is really visible. I mean, in qualifying, he led very early on and was at the sharp end of the qualifying session for the vast majority of the session, and then towards the end dropped down, and he's writing that, and another overtake.
It's the second overtake we've seen through the depths of the final turn, Nico.
Indeed, and that is just maybe something that the 296 allows you that maybe the 488 Challenge Evo just didn't allow you, just because of the fact that you have more grip and the car allows you to be a little bit early on the throttle, so it allows you to get a little bit tighter and still accelerate, where previously you could go on the inside, but when it was about to accelerate onto the long straight, if you had a little bit of a wider line, you could be on the throttle earlier, and that difference may have just been reduced in this with this iteration of the challenge car.
I think the aero really helps. I mean, it's just been, you know, being held onto the ground there. So, wow, that was good to see. Now, all of a sudden, Zeus Skrimpias has probably been told by Giorgio Sangiotto, right, get on with it here. We're about reaching half distance. We want this lead back. And he's certainly beginning to get ever closer to Andreas Koenig. Now, the gap was up to 7 or 8 tenths. It's now down to 3 3/4 tenths. So Zeus Skrimpias is trying once again to return into that P1 position. Fair play to him. He was P1 in qualifying, took that pole position, won the Rotiform pole position award, and he wants that P1 place back. He has a go of the middle line around that turn. Now tucks in behind the Andreas Koenig car. Tries to get the benefit of the draft off the back. Andreas Koenig is certainly protecting the inside line. That forces Zeus Skrimpias to go to the outside line. Then it's who's king of the late breakers. And very clever driving there from Andreas Koenig, because Zeus Skrimpias was going to try and get the undercut.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it just wasn't going to be there, because Andreas Koenig had reduced his speed by just enough that Zeus couldn't turn in.
Yeah, and that was Zeus almost running a little bit onto the gravel, just held it on the tarmac, on the curbs, on the outside of that turn. And by virtue of that, it allowed Andrea Levy to close in a little bit, so he lost a little bit of time. Meanwhile, talking about leaders, Giuseppe Romelli, who we remember was P1 after the start and then dropped all the way down, he has already improved back into the P12 position, and now overtaking potentially Josef Schumacher, now getting under pressure from Mutlu Tarzev, and not only under pressure, but the overtake is done.
Yes. Mutlu decided to use turn 2 to his advantage. It worked, and he's gone through on Josef Schumacher. So that's a change in order for the P13 place, with Mutlu Tarzev P13 now, and Josef Schumacher relegated to P14. Andreas Koenig leading from Zeus Skrimpias and Andrea Levy. A brilliant showing from Jan Sandman running in P4. And you can see that Sandman is just trying to get on terms. Then it's Eric Chung, then it is Henrik Kamstrup up to P6. What can Henrik do in the remaining 13 minutes plus 1 lap of this Ferrari challenge? Shell-Am race here at the Mugello circuit. Now, this time, Skrimpias not quite as close, but again, tries to send it around the outside, but loses too much time. Here comes Kamstrup. Is he going to pick off Paolo Scudieri now?
It was Scudieri, I think he went past Kamstrup. So in any event, Kamstrup relegated to P7, and it's Scudieri
right.
Put his red and dark blue, purple, whatever machine into the P6 position. A very, very nice overtake done here, and already he looks like he's ready to pounce and get on terms with Eric Chung potentially. So a very, very quick Paolo Scudieri at this stage of the race.
You are absolutely right. He put it past Henrik Kamstrup, and yeah, the 104 driver is really taking it now to the car of Giuseppe Romelli. Paolo Scudieri. Eric Chung is the one that Paolo Scudieri is chasing right now. Andreas Koenig holding on to this P1 ahead of Zeus Skrimpias. You can just see the front end of the Zeus Skrimpias car looking a little bit loose, Nico.
Yeah, it looks like it, but he still keeps with Andreas Koenig, and you don't want to be too close all the time, because obviously the dirty air, as the drivers call it, will take even more out of the Pirelli tires than you already do when you're on the edge and you're on the limit of the race. So he has to be careful not to run always directly behind him, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's taking a wide line every now and then, just to be in the clean air and not to run too tight through the same turn. But I'm sure that he will try in the remaining 10 minutes, 40 seconds and 1 lap to have another go, possibly towards the very end of the race.
Yeah, sometimes you do have to leave it right to the end, don't you? But of course you run the risk of, if you don't make it stick right at the end, you've lost the opportunity. But we will see. They will have a strategy worked out, I feel sure. What Andreas Koenig needs to do is try and build and build and build that gap between P1 and P2. It's up to 5.5 seconds, and if for my money, getting a little bit closer to Zeus Skrimpias now is Andrea Levy.
Yeah, right now the gap is roughly 1 second, but it was a little bit more before. Currently, the top drivers are a little bit spaced out. No immediate overtake opportunity. Paolo Scudieri is the first one who's in striking distance of Eric Chung, which we saw just a few moments ago, as he's trying to elevate. On the other side, Paolo Scudieri was just shown as getting a warning for track limit, so he has to be careful and not overdrive the car and risk getting a penalty as a result of being too aggressive.
Yes, all sorts of factors. As we've said more than once on the air, motor racing can be beautiful. It can also be very, very brutal too. As Lisa Clark tries to put the car to the inside of Alvaro Ramos, and going to try and do the same here at the chicane. So Lisa Clark, who won the Coppa Am Championship in North America last year, richly deserved, and is a regular competitor here in Europe as well. Does a lot of racing and really enjoys her racing. And yes, trying very hard. She's very impressed with this 296 car and trying very hard to unsettle that car that is ahead of Alvaro Ramos, running in the P16 place at the moment. Get a live gap between the two of them. Be negligible, I think. Although Ramos just climbing up the hill now, so when we cross the sector line, we'll get a live gap between them. The Gome Motorsport pit wall there, and that is the 119 car of Louis Peruschia, running in P18. So Lisa Clark in the blue and orange liveried car, running in P17 and chasing down the Santogal driver Alvaro Ramos.
Yeah, it feels like with 8 minutes remaining, it feels like we've hit a little bit of a calm in this race, but I'm sure that the action will heat up as the drivers sense that it's the last opportunity to improve in positions. Lisa Clark is trying to chase and is trying to get one place better equally. Andrea Levy is closing down the gap towards Zoe Scrimpias, not by huge margins each lap, but bit by bit. So that fight for potentially P2 might heat up with the remaining 7.5 minutes plus 1 lap. Roland Herter is closing on Paolo Scudieri, who in turn is trying to get on terms with Eric Chung, but all of those battles potentially right now not heating up yet, but you can see it, you can almost sense it, while Andreas Koenig, he's quite comfortable in saying thank you very much, you please behind me start fighting. All that will do is give me even more of an opportunity to stretch my legs and get up the road.
You've nailed it perfectly. Hassan Debussy is running in P15 at the moment. Now, Hassan Debussy is one of those drivers that we met in the Ferrari Challenge Winter Series. Now, car number 171 has picked up a time penalty of 5 seconds for track limits. Is that critical? Yes, it is, because it's Andrea Levi who's running in P3 as a round has gone. The 159 car, they were all fighting together there. And that means it's Roland Hertner who's driving for Gome Motorsport, and Engsler, who's dropped out of the order. We'll probably get a replay of that. I rather think he might have had an assist. Also getting a time penalty is the driver of car number 134, which is Mutlu Tarzev. So their confirmation of that on screen, that's a 5-second time penalty. Beginning to see some track limits time penalties now. There is Roland and his profile. Talk us through this. What happened here?
Yeah,
that was in avoidance, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, he wanted to go on the inside, and then all of a sudden
the gap wasn't there, was it?
Yeah, and then he went around, kept it out of the wall, which is important, kept it going and pointing in the right direction. Didn't lose too many positions, but certainly out of that battle which he was involved in. And just when we said the action is going to heat up, almost as a prophecy, it does very, very shortly, be it through penalties or be it through actual incidents on the track. And Andrea Levy, who is closing in on Zoe Scrimpias. However, that 5-second penalty somewhat nullifies that, and actually means that Jan Sandman is elevated virtually for the time being into P3. And
that's Eric Chung, who goes around. I hope every other driver is able to avoid the 198 car. And there goes Henrik Kamstrup through, and Eric will try and get it pointing in the right direction again. Unfortunately, the curbs are too great there. You would take the splitter off, you see, if you went over the curbs, but well done to Eric. Gets it safely round in the right direction once again. So here is Paolo Scudieri. If you will forgive me, I said right at the beginning of the race, Paolo Scudieri is going to be a driver to watch in this race, and sure enough, he is being exactly that. Let's get a replay here. So the door was left open.
Yeah, then Chung, when trying to turn in on the left, car a little bit unsettled, and he had to put in opposite lock, and that there you can see, and that actually initiated the touch. No malice whatsoever, of course, with Eric Chung, but it just meant that the cars got together, and once they get together at that speed, while turning in, the cars are metaphorically very light, because they have as little grip as possible, because they're using all the grip to make the turn, and that means there is a rotation in the car, and the car goes around. Going around now with 3 seconds to the good. Around this Mugello circuit is Andreas Koenig, and he made that double overtake almost in that at that moment when Giuseppe Romelli had to come into the pit lane. He made good on his overtake on Zoe Scrimpias, and he's now finally released and up the road, and with 3.5 minutes plus 1 lap, everything but a very short safety car appears to be under control.
I think Zoe Scrimpias is really under threat now from Andrea Levi. I have to say that was good driving from Zoe Scrimpias. He went to turn in, but he then saw that the car was there, and he didn't turn in because the gap that he wanted to turn into was not there. It had disappeared. So that was very, very good driving, I have to say.
Yeah,
respect to them.
And very smart driving, him certainly knowing that Andrea Levy has a penalty, so that overtake on the track really doesn't do anything to his position. And again, as we already heard, not a lot of racing experience, but he showed a lot of maturity in that situation.
I agree with you. Car number 150 has got another time penalty. That is, it is another time penalty because it's now 10 seconds for Alvaro Ramos. So the order is Andreas Koenig, Andrea Levi, then it's Zoe Scrimpias, then it is Paolo Scudieri, and Paolo Scudieri is coming under, well, some pressure from Jan Sandman. Sandman there. Now the incident involving cars number 198 and 186 is under investigation. So the two cars that you can see here, Paolo Scudieri and Jan Sandman, who are running P4 and P5, as Sandman sends it to the inside of Paolo Scudieri, Nico, and goes through. So I hope I get a repeat of that, because that really was a send, and he did it and went by. So Sandman now up to P4. There is Stefano Guy, who of course looks after Paolo Scudieri, and he, like me, I think is somewhat bewildered as to what happened there. So, well, there is Jan Sandman, another driver that we met, of course, in the Winter Challenge in Abu Dhabi this year. He was there. I'd met him at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix earlier on in and here it is. Now, did Paolo make a mistake here? Yes, he did. That's the reason why. So from that camera angle, I can rewrite the story because Paolo just ran a bit wide. Jan Sandman certainly didn't need another invitation to go through on the inside, and depending on time penalties, which will be confirmed at the end of the race, that is, I think, going to put Jan Benedict Sandman into P3.
Yeah, absolutely. You perfectly picked up on that. That means that Andrea Levy, who's P2 on track, actually currently is running around P4 or P5, almost.
Oh.
And Mutu Tazev going around and hopefully keeping it on the tarmac. Yes, he does. So doesn't beach the car, fortunately, and can continue. And
Henrik Kamstrup there? No. It's this battle that has raged for a while, hasn't it? It's Shantaro Akatsu. Sorry, just in that light, I wondered whether it was dark blue rather than light blue and silver. Car number 186 is going to get a time penalty. That's Jan Sandman.
Oh, and that podium provisionally of Jan Sandman earned by penalty. Well, earned. He earns it because he is on the track and he's really pedaling the car, but he benefited from the time penalty on Andrea Levy. Now that's all disappeared, and Paolo Scudieri all of a sudden finds himself on the brink of a podium.
Yes.
He has the podium position right now, but let's see the live gap. Has 3.4 seconds between them, so as long as he stays within the 5-second margin, and we are going to start the final lap fairly soon, so Paolo Scudieri has to keep it together and he can still get a podium out of this. Andreas Koenig, meanwhile, 5.2 seconds to the good of Ariel Levy, and if you include the time penalty, actually 7.5 seconds to the good of Zeus Grimpias, who's running virtually in P2 as Andreas Koenig starts the final lap of this race and this race day.
Yes, it's all come together right at the end, hasn't it? So Andreas Koenig then driving for the Gome Motorsport Haupt Racing team. There he is. He rounds the turn 1 and climbs uphill. Andreas Koenig, Andrea Levy. Here comes Paolo Scudieri, and now all of a sudden there is a three-way fight going on here. This is looking very lively. How is this going to all end up? Because Zeus Grimpias is under pressure from Jan Benedict Sandman. Paolo Scudieri is just waiting to pick up the pieces as well. We ignore the time penalties for the moment. I'll leave that mathematician work to Nico, who will work it out. I just want to see what happens on track here. Because I have been really, really impressed with Zeus Grimpias and the way he's driven, given that he has no racing experience whatsoever. He has done such a good job in both attacking and defending again and attacking again, and everything that has been thrown at this driver he's been able to deal with, and it's truly, truly impressive. So Andreas Koenig then, who's entering the final stages of the lap. But whilst he's doing that, there's still plenty going on elsewhere around the track, which we keep in touch with, of course. So here comes Jan Sandman then getting ever closer. He, of course, is coached by Charlie Hollings, a very successful driver in his own right, who passes on his knowledge and, wow, Andreas, Zeus Grimpias having to really defend now. Trying to get a slingshot there was Jan Benedict onto the inside as Andreas Koenig heads towards the checkered flag. There is delight from the pit wall. Let's hold on to this shot. Who's it gonna be? As it is Zeus that does take P2. Of course, Paolo Scudieri takes P3. That as a result of time penalties. Andrea Levi P4. Jan Benedict Sandman, then it's Roland Hertner. Goodness me, thank you. I needed this.
Well, and that is, we can see Henrik Kemster coming through in P8, Stephen Earl, Dr. Stephen Earl, earning P9. Very entertaining race from Shintaro Akatsu, who deserves a P9 finish. Eric Chung, P10. Giuseppe Ramelli finishing in P11 after the drive-through penalty. It's Maurizio Pittori, Mutlu Tazev, Hassan Debussy, Josef Schumacher, Alvaro Ramos, Lisa Clark, Luis Perescuia. We still expect to cross the timing line in but a few seconds.
Wow.
But Andreas Koenig, he made no mistake.
No, did a very, very good job. He didn't break away after he'd made the overtake as quickly as I thought he would. And that's credit to Zeus, who kept with him.
100%, yes. I mean, and I think, you know, Zeus, we always talk, or very often talk about the Ferrari Challenge as a springboard for young drivers to build on their career. Not necessarily always in the Coppa Shell Am. However, Zeus Grimpias, I mean, he's showing that he's just stepped into the championship, and he's stayed with very, very experienced drivers. Yes. And even after maybe being unattentive for a moment and being subject to an overtake he didn't expect, he kept cool, he kept very, very mature over the rest of the race, and all it would have taken was one mistake from Andreas Koenig and he would have gone through immediately. So very, very good driving. But that mistake never came, and in the end Andreas Koenig was able to get up the road and finish the race quite a bit ahead. And
Motohiko Isozaki.
I mean, he's the champion of this category from last year, and you can see how appreciative he is and how supportive the drivers across the various categories. He had not only had Motohiko not only had competitors in this championship, but as you can see, lots of friends and people that he roots for, and well done.
To see.
And I'm really, really want to point out, we started with 18 drivers, and each and every one crossed the finish line. After waiting all those minutes, great credit to everybody. Paolo Scudieri, P3, Zoe Skrimpias, really, really not unhappy with the P2 finish, and well, richly deserved. Manu Gostner, one of the first to congratulate him.
The emotions that you see from the drivers, that was just summed up, was it not, by Motohiko? He's just so enthused, not only for his own racing, but for everybody else's racing as well. And, you know, there is, congratulations, numero uno, Paolo Scudieri, who takes P3. It's great to see. There is Germana, and bravo to Zeus. Well, what a race. And I have to say, what a start to the 2024 European season of the Ferrari Challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really great race. Great entertainment. Very fair racing, as always. And not only fair on the track, but a great sense of camaraderie also after the race. Illustrated by Motohiko Isozaki and everybody else down in pit lane. And here are some of the highlights of this entertaining race coming up. Who actually is our race winner, Andreas Koenig.
Andreas, congratulations for the win, and the race for today was a very good race and very tough race for you, but you made a very good job with your team, and you started today from P3 and you ended for P1.
Yeah, first of all, the team did an amazing job with the setup and everything. We worked really hard to get the optimal for my driving style. So big thanks to the team. The race actually was a little bit tough for me because I had to wait for 50 minutes in the car and I didn't step out, so you get pretty warm. And then also the start was close, but I was hoping that I get some actually places, which I managed to do. And then from then on, it was just keeping the pace. It was good.
Thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Well done to Andreas Koenig. Team boss will be pretty happy with him. Of course, that is Manuel Reuter himself is something of a winning racing driver. Here come the highlights right now. So the highlights here, confirmation of the classification. Andreas Koenig taking the win from Zeus Skrimpias. Then it was Paolo Scudieri, Andrea Levi, Jan Benedict Sandman, Roland Hertner, ahead of Henrik Hamstrup, Stephen Earle, Shintaro Akatsu, Eric Chung, Giuseppe Romelli, Maurizio Pittori, Mutlu Tazev, Hassan Dabusi. Then it was Josef Schumacher and Lisa Clark, Louis Peruscua and Alvaro Ramos. Well done to all our drivers, as Nico made the point. 18 started, 18 finished. That's the way we like it in motor racing. In the Drivers' Championship, it's Andreas Koenig from Zeus Skrimpias, 17 points, 14 points. Then Paolo Scudieri, P3. And yeah, the Coppa Shell Am Drivers' Championship flashing before your very eyes, quicker than I can keep up with it. So we're going to be heading up to the podium very, very shortly, where we will see our top 3 drivers. So Michele Mambelli then will bring the drivers out for their podium celebrations. Paolo Scudieri will be on the 3rd step of the podium. Here he comes.
Second driver on the podium.
To step 2, racing debut. Zeus Skrimpias, well done.
And the winner, Andreas Koenig.
And here comes Andreas Koenig then onto the top step of the podium.
National anthem. Il nostro applauso.
Anthem plays out for Andreas Koenig.
On the podium, Coppa Team, GOM Motorsport Out Racing Team. L'applauso.
Team represented, of course, on the podium as well.
Presented by Oli Berman, Scuderia Ferrari HP reserve driver.
Oli Behrman, who was on the air with us earlier on, makes the trophy presentations. He is the Scuderia Ferrari HP reserve driver. Well done to Paolo Scudieri. He offers his words of advice. I mean, Paolo to Oli, I think. And Zeus Skrimpias in receipt of his trophy. And then on the top step of the podium, Andreas Koenig.
And the winner podium, winner trophy for the winner, Andreas Koenig.
Super young man is Oli Behrman. It's delighted to have him on the air with us today. The GOM Motorsport, of course, received their trophy as well.
And please, Oli, on the podium with the drivers.
Everyone gets together for the photographs.
The podium near and lift your trophy. This is podium race 1, Shell AM race.
And the applause.
Okay.
Richly deserved.
5 seconds for Bierman and the team manager out of the podium, please. Okay.
Yeah. They don't want to get covered in champagne.
We are waiting for champagne.
Yes, the celebrations up there on the podium. Well, our 2024 season is officially underway then, with races from Shell, from Trofeo Pirelli, from 488, and also from Shell Am. Big thank you to everyone that has graced our studio this afternoon. Timo Glock, Oli Behrman, of course, Nico Spalak, and myself. Thank you so much for watching. We look forward to doing it all over again tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.